All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahushua by Hashem, Kawadas. Yahweh, the truly powerful name who wrote even cause God. Yahushua, the truly powerful name who wrote even cause Jesus. By Hashem, in the name of Hakodas, Holy Spirit. Literally translated Spirit Holy. I want to give double honors to my elders and apostles, their millstone, Ruel, teacher, being granted to church and brothers. And peace and blessings to those full elect, will I'm part of that number. I'm the brother Kadar, come back with another video. This is going to be another video, part 2. Episode 8 or 9 on lies against King James. And I tried to do this video yesterday as a quick hit, but I had literally no space on my phone, and I was recording for like 11 minutes, and they only recorded 21 seconds, which was bullshit. But I'm gonna just keep going. This is Slovakia. James' bitter enemies. All right, and we know King James was a Jake. All right, he was I believe he was King James the first. He united England and Scotland. All right, and of course he had a lot of religious and political enemies. King James the first of England reigned at a time when vicious winds of political strife were rampant. England was in the throes of casting out the last vestiges and influences of the Roman Catholic Church, which we know that's Roman Catholic Church all BS. There also were bitter internal politics of long-standing adversarial parties. King James therefore had bitter enemies, both religious as well as political. All right, they tried to, what you look for? All right, you finna put that in the charger?
No, I need the phone case. I mean the case. Just drop it.
You finna put it in the charger?
No.
All right, leave out. Slovakia. This is. It says long-standing adversarial parties. They were also bitter eternal Slovakia fucking interruptions and shit, man. Always demons when you trying to do a video, but there were also bitter eternal politics of long-standing adversarial parties. King James therefore had bitter enemies, both religious as well as political. Some of these dedicated themselves to tarnishing the reputation of James Stewart in any fashion possible, right? And that's exactly what they're going to do to the man of the Lord, man. All right? Several of his bitter enemies was quick to point out his personal quirks, all right? As if they some perfect human being. But however, the most serious allegation brought forth after he was dead that he was a homosexual, and the reason it was serious because that was looked down upon, and it should be, and which this was a lie, of course, and we're gonna get into it some more. His political enemies that had, vowed, I believe his name was James something. No, but I'm gonna keep reading. But he had swore a vow that he was gonna tarnish King James' name. But I'm going to keep reading. However, the most serious allegation brought forth afterwards. This allegation was picked up and published in a Moody Monthly in August 1985, which an Edomite Bible scholar, just took it and ran off with it, You know how the Edomites do, because they knew Jake was ruling them, man. All right? And to, further push people away from the 1611 King James Bible, which has the, the best translation, man. All right? And it forces you to the stuff like the NIV, which takes off 200 words from the scriptures and changes the scriptures up in certain words, man. All right, which is going off. All right, these charges have never been proved. All right, as it will be noted below, they originate from an embarrassed political enemy of James who vowed vengeance against him. His charges are analogous to tactics of the modern political operators in attacking their foes. Others more recent publications also have insinuated that King James is less than a godly person. However, before refuting these charges, let us present a brief overview of the man James Stewart. Understand something about him personally will in itself go a long way to negate such political motivated allegations, man. All right, and I'm gonna skip over that because my first video went into all that. All right, but James the godly father. Slovakia. James the theologian. James' political enemies right here. The charge that King James was a homosexual emanated from an old political enemy of the king, Sir Anthony Weldon. clerk of the green cloth in royal court. Moreover, his family for generations had provided officers from the royal household. All right. However, Weldon was expelled from the court by James about 1625 for political reason. All right. Weldon subsequently swore he would have his day of vengeance, like I just said. Curiously, Weldon never confronted the king, but waited 25 years later to the hint that king had feminine interest in men, which is false. And he waited on King James to pass away and his son to pass away. Moreover, he also waited until James' son Charles I had been executed in 1649. As he will note in the section, all right, I believe his son Charles I, they call him Black Boy, you know, which proves he was an Israelite, but had been executed in 1649. As he would note in the next section, Weldon not only came to hate James, but had a racial hatred of the Scottish race, which they was both the English and the Scottish, but you know, but it was the Renaissance period, so Esau was taking over, of course. All right, from the James Spring. Another enemy of James was Guy Fawkes. Under that direction of Jesuits, we know about the Jesuits, you know, one of the Esau's secret societies and stuff. Fawkes even tried to bomb James and the entire English Parliament with 36 barrels of gunpowder. There should be no question that James had both political and religious enemies. It was Weldon who, after the death of James and Charles, wrote about the Scottish race. Fornication they hold a pastime wherein man's ability is proved. At adultery they shake their heads, murder they wink and blaspheme, which is all BS, of course. You know, and at the time, this dude Sir Weldon, you know, he ain't bring out the allegations, the false allegations, the false accusations on King James when he was alive and his son, because that shit was frowned upon. Everybody knew that was false because they knew King James, man. All right, but after his death, all right, which there was nobody to defend him. You know, his son was killed. You know, his bloodline was stopped. All right, but the bigotry and hatred of Weldon are self-evident. Lest there be any doubt about his objectivity, here's how Weldon described James' person. His tongue was too large for his mouth, which ever made him speak full in the mouth, and made him drink very uncomely. As if eating his drink, which came out in the cup of each side of his mouth, the weakness in his leg made him ever leaning on other men's shoulders. He would never change his clothes until worn out very rags. He was the wisest fool of Christendom. You know, that's just how he described him, which is false. It should be apparent that Sir Weldon was no impartial observer, right? Though King James was never known for his social grace and what somewhat gangling his appearance, it is evident that Weldon has visceral hatred of him, yet Sir Anthony Weldon is the primary source of the allegation that James was homosexual. James' enemies discredited. Maurice Lee Jr., a historian published by University of Illinois Press, saying historians can and should ignore the venomous caricature of the king's person and behavior drawn by Anthony Weldon, right? Another historian, Christopher Durston, writes regarding Weldon's book, the poisonous piece of literary revenge was to do profound and lasting damage to James' reputation, right? As it became the prime source for many subsequently historical assessments, who author failed to make sufficient allowance for its obvious bias. There were several others who hinted that James was a homosexual. However, upon examination, in each case they turned out to be avowed political enemies of James and likely fed up upon each other's gossip. Much could have been written on this matter. However, Stephen Constant quotes a historian who lived much closer to these charges, despicable and libelous, full of lies, mistakes, and nonsense. All right. Now, the enemies of the Stuart dynasty did not directly make that charge. The reason it is apparent, those close enough to have known him knew better. Exactly. When this gossip is traced to the Stuarts, a handful of disgruntled courtiers and political enemies are at the core long after his death, man. You know, but I ain't gonna sit here and read. What happened?
Looking for my water and all of this.
It's not here. Close the door. But I ain't gonna sit over here and read all of this, but I'm just Salakia. I'm gonna just give some scriptures, man, because I'm not gonna read all of it. I already got my point. Jeremiah 5:26. For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap. They catch men. As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore they are becoming great and waxing rich. Right, man. hey, Jake is always doing some wicked shit. Hating on their brother. Having an evil eye towards their brother, man. All right, just wicked as hell, man. Deuteronomy 28. Gonna be my last precept. Deuteronomy 28. Slocky. 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Right. I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem, Shabbat Shem, God, Shalom, and the Bible Ball.